Good morning. This is part two of our Sunday School series on Jonathan Edwards, a little introduction to Jonathan Edwards. Today I'm going to be talking about Jonathan Edwards and beauty. And I have sent by email, and Father Michael should have sent it to you, what was going to be an outline, but I decided just to give you my whole talk. So it might make it easier for you to follow along. If it distracts you to read something while I'm reading it out loud, then put it away and just watch my ugly face. Um, so here goes. Jonathan Edwards on beauty. Most Americans know Jonathan Edwards, if they know him at all, as the preacher of sinners in the hands of an angry God. Many conclude that he's not only intimidating but repulsive because of this wrathful God he depicts in painful detail. Now, this perception of Edwards is not new. Harriet Beecher Stowe, the author of Uncle Tom's Cabin, complained that Edwards' sermons on sin and suffering were, as she put it, refined poetry of torture, close quote. After staying up one night reading Edwards' treatise on the will, which I talked about last class, Freedom of the Will, Mark Twain reported that Edwards' God shines red and hideous in the glow from the fires of hell, their only right and proper adornment. By God, I was ashamed to be in such company, close quote. Few Americans have known that Edwards was actually obsessed, not by God's wrath, but by God's beauty. In fact, as I told you last time, the historian of theological aesthetics, Patrick Sherry, has shown that Edwards made beauty more central to theology than anyone else in the history of Christian thought, including Augustine and the 20th century Swiss Catholic, Hans Urs von Balthasar. Most Americans would also be surprised to learn that Edwards was America's greatest philosopher before the 20th century. As I told you the other day, one measure of his stature is Yale University's critical edition of his works, which contains 73 volumes, most between 400 and 800 pages. And that another token of Edwards' importance is the three-volume Encyclopedia of the American Religious Experience, which contains more references to Edwards than to any other single figure. These are some of the reasons that Edwards is widely recognized as America's greatest theologian. More than 25 years ago, Lutheran theologian Robert Jenson published a monograph with Oxford University Press entitled America's Theologian. The nearest competitor to Edwards for that title, H. Richard Niebuhr, confessed that he was greatly indebted to Edwards and saw himself as extending the Edwardsian vision. Now Edwards taught that the essence of true religious experience is to be overwhelmed by a glimpse of the beauty of God, to be drawn to the glory of his perfections, and to sense his irresistible love. He argued that the scriptures often describe the knowing of the regenerate as a kind of seeing. Now, maybe as I go through this, I should position my laptop better so that you can see Edwards there over my right shoulder, right back there, that painting of Edwards that we commissioned when Michael McClymond and I wrote a giant book titled The Theology of Jonathan Edwards that's been published by Oxford University Press. Now, Edwards taught that So Edwards argued that the scriptures often describe the knowing of true Christians as a kind of seeing. He quoted 1 John, "No one who abides in him sins. No one who sins has seen him or known him." And then in 3 John, "The one who does evil has not seen God." Edwards reminded his readers that Jesus said, "I have come into this world," now this is John 9, "so that those who do not see may see." But what is it that sinners see? The answer, according to Edwards, is the glory or beauty of divine things, which the Bible calls the beauty of holiness. This is the beauty, he insisted, that makes the person of Jesus so ravishingly beautiful that has drawn the hearts of billions to himself for thousands of years. You know, I'm filming this on Maundy Thursday, and I was reminded this morning doing my morning prayer and the readings from Maundy Thursday, that beautiful scene of Jesus taking the role of a servant, of a slave, and washing the feet of his disciples. That is beautiful. The God of the universe kneeling down and putting on the clothes of a servant and washing the filthy, smelly feet of his disciples, his apostles. Wow, that's beauty. Now, Edwards said, the devil and the damned in hell do also see the holiness of God, but they don't see its beauty, the beauty of that holiness. Now, we might wonder, how could this be? Let me try to illustrate. When I was in high school in New York City, a teacher took me to an art museum. While my teacher gazed with love and delight at one painting after another, I kept looking at my watch. I saw the same paintings that my teacher saw, but I didn't see their beauty. I could not see because my heart and my mind did not have the capacity to see and to enjoy beauty of this sort. I had eyes to see, but I could not see. Now, Helen Keller was struck deaf and blind at the age of 2, and yet she could see and hear beauty all around her. She said, I, who cannot see, find hundreds of things to interest me through mere touch. I feel the delicate symmetry of a leaf. I pass my hands lovingly about the smooth skin of a silver birch or the rough, shaggy bark of a pine. I feel the delightful velvety texture of a flower and discover its remarkable convolutions, and something of the miracle of nature is revealed to me. Occasionally, if I'm very fortunate, I can place my hand gently on a small tree and feel the happy quiver of a bird in full song. At times, she went on, at times my heart cries out, longing to see these things. But if I can get so much pleasure in mere touch, how much more beauty must be revealed by sight? Yet those who have eyes apparently see little. The panorama of color and action which fill the world are taken for granted. It is a great pity that in the world of light, now this is still Helen Keller speaking, that in the world of light, the gift of sight is used only as a mere convenience, rather than as a means of adding fullness. Close quote. Now, Jonathan Edwards would say that seeing the beauty of Jesus Christ and the glory of redemption is analogous to the capacity to see that Helen Keller possessed. People without the Spirit don't see the glory of God and the glory of Jesus Christ because they're not able to. Their eyes have not been opened to divine beauty, so they cannot see it or enjoy it, just as many cannot see the beauty that's all around them. Now, Edwards described our side of this experience as like being given a sixth sense, a sense of the beauty, the glory, and the love of God. This is what has made Edwards so attractive in the last 60, 70 years of what's been called an Edwards Renaissance. It's part of the reason why historian Joseph Conforti calls Edwards the white whale of American religious history, the dazzling mystery that has attracted even atheists such as Harvard historian Perry Miller and the Berkeley historian Henry May. They all were attracted to Jonathan Edwards despite the fact that they couldn't believe in Edwards as God. Notre Dame historian George Marsden says that what draws so many to Edwards is the beauty of Edwards' religious vision. For Edwards, quote, all created reality is like a quintessential explosion of light from the sun of God's intertrinitarian love.